So first, I just wanted to offer my congratulations on your marriage.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. And with the release of the new album, it seems like love is a real theme going on here. Love in the future, love in your present day. So can you talk about, how the album came about? I know it's a few years in the making, where the idea started and how you developed it.
Well, all my albums kind of start out with just writing a bunch of songs. We did have a sense of what we were trying to do musically. We wanted to make a soul album that was both, really soulful but also modern and fresh. And so we tried to get the right kinds of producers involved that would help to craft that kind of sound. Kanye was helping to run the show. Dave Tozer, who I met in Philadelphia, and is from South Jersey, he was involved heavily, and then we brought in a bunch of great producers to be kind of contributors like Hit Boy and DJ Camper, who's also from South Jersey. The Interns, Bink, and a few other great producers, Q-Tip, 88 Keys. So everybody contributed something, but Kanye and Dave and I were really in charge of crafting the sound of the album. So we, like I said, we wanted to make a really great modern soul album. That was the intent. And the lyrics, I wrote a lot of songs. I wrote like 80 songs, so there's a range of lyrical themes that we wrote, but I felt like this Love in the Future theme was the right theme for this moment in my life, because it's most reflective of where I am. I released the album 2 weeks before I got married, and so it just made sense to do something that kind of commemorated that in this time in my life.
So is there, I know the last record with the one with the Roots was sort of all the sort of empowerment songs. Was there a message in this one, or just more of a statement about where you are with your life right now? Or?
Well, it's a celebration of love. It's an album of like romance and optimism, and every experience of love isn't that, but I felt like for this moment it was the right thing.
And is it typical for you to have so many songs for when you said 80 songs you had been prepared for this and sort of?
Yeah, I usually write a lot. I usually write at least 50 for any album, and then try to narrow it down to the best ones that represent the best sound and the best songs.
And do you go back to the ones that you cut? Do you rework them, or do they just sort of get thrown out, or what happens to those?
Oh yeah, there's one Aim High. We originally recorded for Evolver, and we didn't use it for that, but we thought it made sense for this album. There are other songs like Dreams was written for Joe Jonas' project, and I decided to keep it for myself. So like certain songs can be repurposed from other when they were intended for other reasons originally.
Right. And what was it like to work with Kanye again? I know you obviously have a long relationship with him, but I read somewhere that it's not always smooth sailing during production. You have the creative differences sometimes you need to work out.
Well, that's always the case with anybody you work with. But, we've worked together for 12 years, so obviously any differences we've had, we've always gotten through them. And it's the same with Dave. We just disagree on certain things, and I trust their taste, and I try to make an album that we all feel proud of, My ideal situation is that each of us loves every song on the album, but occasionally it's not the case, and, I'll go with my gut. But I try to make it so that we all love everything on the album. Right,
because ultimately, though, it's your album, so you have to be the one who's the most.
Yeah, so I'll make some calls myself that they might not agree with, but that's because my name is on it.
Right. And having worked with so many artists over the years, when Alicia Keys, Jay-Z, Lauryn Hill back in the day, does that give you kind of little snippets when you're making your own records to sort of draw from all these experiences and, to develop your own creative process? You'll be able to watch a lot of
the studio. I learn every time, and I try to get better and better, and working with different people helps you get better. But it isn't just the big names, it's the guitarist that no one's heard of, or the songwriter that you co-write with that is not famous. People always talk about the big names you collaborate with, but a lot of the best contributions you'll get are from people that are more behind the scenes.
Right. And I wanted to ask you about the covers on this album too. You've done a lot of covers over the years, and I saw you with when you opened for Sade a couple of years ago in Atlantic City. You were doing the Adele cover at the time. What do you look for when you're trying to sort of bring in someone else's songs, on your record? What are you trying to do with those?
Well, if I love the song and I think I could do a cool take on it that'll be something different than the original, then it's fun to do them. It kind of gives the fans a nice little surprise because they know they're going to get your hits, but it's nice for them to get a couple other songs that they can relate to that are not as expected.
Have a slightly different perspective on the album, different voice kind of coming in along with your own voice.
Yeah.
And now for the show, how are you fitting all this in, the new songs and other stuff? What's the plan? Are you doing a lot of the new album?
Well, you just try to play as much great stuff as you can, try to play things that people love to hear, including the new stuff and some classics from the older albums.
And you're going to be mostly at the piano, or are you standing up and leaving the piano aside for a while? What's your...
It's a mix. All of my shows have always been a mix like that. And so I'll get up quite a bit, but I'll play the piano quite a bit as well. So it's probably about half and half.
And do you feel more comfortable sort of leaving the piano behind and sort of getting up there?
Well, I've been doing it my whole career. I didn't used to do it when I was young, so I just started doing it when I became a star, I guess. So I kind of grew into it as I got more experience doing it. But now I feel really good doing it.